Happy Monday, and this is our second week of our distant learning. So we, the teachers and I just want to tell you how proud we are of you. And I know that last week was a rough one, but we got through it and you guys are awesome. So give yourselves a high five. And we are all missing you. We just want to make sure that you know that. All right, so let's start with 513. So you're going to go in your Connect Ed if you can. If not, just have your workbook next to us and you can follow along. Remember, you can always split your screen. You can keep this on one side and follow along on your side, which would be great. All right, so let's do some mental math. If you'd like, you could do some roller coaster arms to get you moving this morning or afternoon, whenever you decided to start your math. 1/3 of 1/2. Just shout out the answer. 1/6, good job. Remember, of means multiplication, so we're just going to multiply across. 1 times 1 is 1, 3 times 2 is 6. 1/4 of 1/5. 1/20, good. 1/2 of 1/4. 1/8, good job. 2/3 of 1/2. Remember, of just means multiplication. Go straight across. 2/6, good job. 3/4 of 1/5. 3/20. 5/6 of 1/3. 5/18. Good job. All right, so our math message today is going to look just like the one on your screen if you're following along. It says solve the following problems. You may use a drawing, a number line, or fraction circle pieces to help you. Number 1 says a 6-meter rope is cut into 3 equal pieces. How long is each piece? Number 2 is a 1-meter rope is cut into 3 equal pieces. How long is each piece? Number 3, a 1/2 meter rope is cut into 3 equal pieces. How long is each piece? So think about that for a moment. All right, so it's going to ask us. It says, what number models could we write to summarize our solutions for problems 1 and 2? Well, the first question was asking us, a 6-meter rope is cut into 3 equal pieces. How long is each piece? So if we have something that we need to cut up or separate into equal pieces, I hope we were thinking division. So we would say that 6-meter rope divided by 3 equals 2. So we would have 2-meter pieces. We would have 3 of them, right? That equals 6. So 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals that original 6 meters. Then that second question said a 1-meter rope is cut into 3 equal pieces. How long is each piece? Okay, so we still have a rope and we are still separating it. So 1 divided by 3 equals 1/3. Remember, we're starting with 1, therefore, if we're going to chop up or separate it, we're making it less than 1, right? Why does it make sense to use division for these problems? Hopefully my good mathematicians out there are saying, Mrs. Boyd, I know I have to use division because I'm making equal parts out of something, right? I'm dividing it up into equal parts or separating it into equal parts. How is problem 3 similar to problems 1 and 2? Problem 3 tells us we have a 1/2 meter rope and it is cut into 3 equal pieces. So up top, this was number 1. We had a 6-meter rope cut up into 3 equal pieces. Here we had a 1-meter rope cut up into 3 equal pieces. And again, for problem 3, we have a rope that we need to cut up into 3 equal pieces. It says, how is problem 3 different from problems 1 and 2? Well, problem 3 started with a fraction of a rope, right? It was less than 1. So the other 2 questions, 1 and 2, started with 6 and it started with 1. Question 3 is going to start with 1/2. Our rope is 1/2 meters long and we need to cut that up into 3 equal pieces. What number model would we write for the letter, for the unknown for problem 3? Okay, and that would be You can use P for piece, right? Or you can use M for meter. I would like P for piece. And here's some vocabulary we want to remember. So our dividend, our divisor, and our quotient, right? So we look up top. So 6 is our dividend, 3 is our divisor, and 2 is our quotient. So if you notice, our dividend is larger than our quotient when we're doing division. Here's our dividend again. Number 1 is our dividend. Our divisor is 3. Our quotient is 1/3. 1/3 is smaller than our dividend. So our quotient is smaller than our dividend when we're dividing. So strategies to use to try to solve problem 3 is we have these wonderful fraction circles in your e-toolkit. Okay, so we're going to come over here to our e-tools. We're going to scroll down for our fraction circles, and we're going to change to pieces because our lovely pink piece is that 1/2 meter rope. And I'm going to say, all right, if I have this 1/2 meter rope, how can I divide this piece into 3 equal sized pieces? And I would try all these pieces, right? But hopefully you remember your light blue piece is that piece. It is then going to be able to come over, and that light blue piece will be able to cover this pink piece with 3 equal pieces. Okay, remember it has to cover it nice and perfectly with no overlaps or gaps, right? So we see that 3 of those light blue pieces can cover our 1/2 piece. Therefore, what that means is that if I took that 1/2 piece and cut it up into 3 equal pieces, this would be a piece, that would be a piece, and that would be a piece. So hopefully you remember what fraction this represents. Your light blue represents your sixths. So therefore each piece would be 1/6. So the answer would be 1/6 for this problem. Okay, so our number model would look something like this. 1/2 divided by 3 equals 1/6. This is our first problem, and what they're doing is they just put that there so that you understand how to use multiplication and check your answer. So if this was our multiplication, our division problem, we could work in the opposite direction. So we usually work left to right and solve, right? So 6 divided by 3 equals 2. When we check with multiplication, ignore the dogs. We're going to work in the opposite direction and do 2 times 3. Oh, I apologize. That's William and Rosie. I hope they're not hurting your ears. So we're going to use the opposite operation of division, which is multiplication. So 2 times 3 would give us 6. So for this one, we're going to do exactly the same thing to check it. So what that means is we're going to say 1/6, and then we're going to do multiplication. So we're going to say times 3 equals what? Well, we know whole numbers are over 1. We know when we use multiplying fractions, we go straight across. So 1 times 3 is 3. 6 times 1 is 6. And 3/6 can be simplified, or we know it's equivalent to 1/2. And that was our beginning fraction. So we just checked it using multiplication, and yes, we were correct. I apologize for Woody and Rosie. They heard the truck outside. All right, so these 3 family members equally share 1/5 of a pan of cornbread. How much of the pan will each person get? So we are sharing 1/5 of a pan of cornbread. So that is what we need to share. So that's what we're dividing up. And we need to divide that up by 3 family members. So we need to figure out how much each family member is going to get. So the best thing to do is to draw that area model that we have been practicing. And I need to represent 1/5. So that means I'm going to cut this into fifths. So I have 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, and 5/5. So 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, 5/5. Now that family only has this little piece right here because they only have 1/5 left of their cornbread. But 3 family members want it. So that means I'm going to karate chop it so that there's 3 pieces. So I have 1 piece, 2 piece, 3 piece. Don't forget to extend those lines because that cornbread is still part of a whole. We just didn't have it. We only had 1/5. So that means maybe this piece right here can go to grandma. This piece right here can go to mom. This piece right here can go to dad. Okay, so that means that grandma, let's say we use grandma as an example. So grandma is going to get 1 out of how many pieces of cornbread? She's only getting 1, but how many total do we have? So if we counted the squares, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So grandma's going to get 1 out of 15, so 1/15 of the cornbread. So predict whether the quotient will be greater than or less than the dividend. So right here we see 1/5 we started. We divided that up into thirds, which means we're already going to make that 1/5 into smaller pieces. So it will be less than our dividend. So 1/15 is less than our dividend. 3 is our divisor in this problem. All right, so I want to show you what your workbook page work looks like that you need to do today. So you need to do 188, and that's what it's showing me on here. But it says solving fraction division problems 513. And remember, workbook pages, I don't need to see, you don't turn in. I want you to do them though. It's good practice. So we're going to look at our directions and do it together. For problems 1 and 2, write a number model using a letter for the unknown. Solve showing your solution strategy with representations or drawings. Summarize your work with a division number model. Check your answer using multiplication and write a number sentence to show how you checked. So let's look at it. Number 1 says 2 students equally share 1/4 of a stick of clay. How much of the stick of clay will each student get? So we're going to start sharing our 1/4 piece of clay. We're going to divide that up by 2 students, it told us. And we need to give a letter for the unknown, so I'm going to use C for clay. And I'm going to draw my stick of clay, but I'm going to make it look like this to make it easier. And I need to show fourths. Oops, that was a terrible line. I apologize. I'm still not doing a very good job here. We're gonna erase that. I'd much rather like do this on the board, right? Alright, so we're going to say 1/4 divided by 2 equals C. I'm going to make my clay. Okay, it's not perfect, right? But there we go. So I have my, so this would be the 1/4 that the students have. So 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. They have that 1/4, but I'm going to karate chop it, right? Because now student A is going to get this piece. I need to make 2 pieces. Student B is going to get this piece. Okay, but remember to extend your lines because that 1/4 came from a whole, right? We want to still account for that whole, but we only have 1/4. So now student A is going to get 1 out of how many pieces? So we can count every square. We can think of it as an array. So I have 2 on this side, 4 going across. So 2 times 4 is 8. So that's my denominator. Now your summary number model would just be everything together without that letter, right? So 1/4 divided by 2 equals, oh my goodness, I apologize. There goes Woody and Rosie again. The truck is back. It's my neighbor. I'm sorry. All right, equals 1/8. So to check using multiplication, we are just going to go in the opposite direction. So that means we're going to work left to right instead of our left to right. We're going to work right to left instead of the usual left to right. So we're going backwards to check with multiplication. So what that means is I'm going to say 1/8. I'm going to move it over here. It should be on this line, but I'm going to move it over here so it's not so sloppy. 1/8 times 2 equals, and remember 2 is a whole number, it's just over 1, it's an imaginary 1 on the bottom. 2 times 1 is 2, and then 8 times 1 is 8. 2/8, if I simplify it, remember 2 goes into 2 how many times? Once, and then 2 goes into 8 4 times, so I know that 2/8 is equivalent to 1/4, and that is exactly what I started with, so my answer is correct. So I want you guys to try number 2. Number 2 says 3 families equally share 1/3 of a community garden space. How much of the community garden space does each family use? So remember, they're splitting up that community garden space by how many people? Equals, give me S for space possibly, or whatever you'd like. Put your solution here. Remember to draw an area model for yourself or a picture. Give me the summary number model with all of your numbers, your fraction and with your dividend, your divisor and your quotient, and then you're going to work the opposite direction. It's going to be a multiplication number model here to check your answer. Number 3 says when you divide a fraction by a whole number greater than 1, is the quotient larger or smaller than the fraction? Explain. And then here is to write a number story. For 1/5 divided by 2, solve your story. So I can give you an example of one. If I said Miss Chesney and I have 1/5 of a cheesecake, how much of the cheesecake will each person get? Okay, so that's just a quick little example. So you're going to finish page 188 on your own, and then tomorrow you can correct your work using our math resource folder. I also want you to do the review page, which is coordinate grid practice. And that is on page 189. It's called Feeding a Blue Whale. Gives you some cool facts about a whale. They want you to make ordered pairs, and they want you to answer the problems, plot it. Remember to extend your line through your dot, right? Use your straight edge, find a ruler, or use a corner of a book. Then they want you to solve the problems and do the try this. When you're done with these 2 workbook pages, you're going to then practice IXL skills. I want you to focus on the N skills, N like in Nancy, and those are all the dividing fraction skills. Do any one that is starred. Practice as much as you like, but do practice something a little bit today when you're done. Get your green light on reflex. So today you have nothing to turn in. You're just going to mark the assignment as done, and you will see it looks a little differently. You're not going to turn anything into me today. Tomorrow we're going to continue with dividing fractions, and then we're almost done. So we'll be soon to do our study guide, and then I guess our test will be done online. But you will be hearing from me soon, and again, myself and all the teachers, we miss you, and we can't wait to get back in the classroom. But I hope that this was helpful, and you were able to complete your worksheet pages. And remember, do not turn these into me. You're going to hold on to all your workbook pages and correct them yourself with a correcting pen, just like we do in school, using the answer keys the next day. Please message me if you have any problems or questions. But I wish you the best of luck on this, and I know you guys are going to rock it because I know you're really good at coordinate grids. I don't think you should have a problem. And I will see you soon, or I will talk to you soon. Okay? Take care.